Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wealthy Retailer Series, Customer Driven Selling. Today, Scott Smith and I are going to walk through what we see as our customer driven selling system. And so just by way of introduction, Scott Smith and I both have been in this world for a very long time. Scott, 30 some years, Dan, 30 some years, and we spent our time on retail floors and coaching retail teams. And one of the key attributes to a really great team, to a really great store, is one that has a selling system, has a way of doing things. And so I'll give you a quick background. If you don't know CRS, we've been around since about 1991. We sell and support comprehensive retail software. We do some inventory planning and retail mentorship, empowering retailers throughout North America. And at our core, we exist to make retailers better. So without further delay, welcome Scott Smith, and we're going to get rolling.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And so what do we mean when we say customer-driven selling system? What do we mean when we say system? Well, if we use our friend Google, it's going to tell us that a system is a set of connected things or parts forming a complex whole. In particular, a set of principles or procedures according to which something is done, an organized scheme or method. We're going to call it our selling system today. And that system really is a sequential or consequential set of actions and reactions that ensure every person who enters our store gets the highest level of care and service, no matter who serves them and whether they buy from us or not. And so, go ahead.
Dan, if I could just quickly jump in, I want one of the things that you've always taught me is this kind of this equal level of service. I think is so critical. But one of the things that I think retailers kind of we forget about often, because we get talented people come into our environment, talented salespeople. I've found, and I know you have too over the years, that the system will bring people that you wouldn't necessarily think have the talent into a position where they will hit that level that you need them to hit. And I think that's what's critical, because we really are only as good as our weakest link on the sales floor.
Oh yeah, excellent point. And valid, this is about an equal and specified level of service.
Mm-hmm.
And that specified level of service really comes with four key principles. The very first principle, we're going to play. We're going to have fun in our stores and on our floors. Number two key principle is we're going to be there for our customers. We're going to take the time to connect with that customer. Number three, we're going to make their day. We're going to say and do things that leave them feeling, wow, I've never experienced something so good. We're going to do everything we can to make their day. And the fourth key principle in our selling system is absolutely having the ability to choose your attitude. And choosing your attitude doesn't mean that you need to portray it or push it onto other people, only that you yourself be the best that you can be when you're on stage, when you're on the floor. When you reach for that door handle in the morning to come into the store, you're saying to yourself, this is the person I'm going to be today. So you choose your attitude. The other thing that's important in our system is that we have, in fact, a philosophy. And our philosophy is that our business is not about our merchandise, it's about people and how our merchandise impacts or affects their life. Every single customer has a need for help in choosing the right merchandise. And selling any merchandise without understanding the customer will absolutely lead to buying and selling mistakes. And so when we talk about selling principles, we talk about this, again, of sort of a repetition. Every person who comes into our store deserves the highest possible level of care and service, no matter who serves them and regardless of whether they buy from us. Now, this other part of our principle is that we can't help our customers satisfy their needs, i.e. wants, until we understand what those needs are. And understanding customer needs is really the heart of our sales process. And so if that's the case, let's start to realign how we think. Remember, our business is not about we're going to choose a clothing store today. Our business is not about clothing. Clothing just happens to be our product. We're going to work with each customer to understand their needs, and we'll then be able to present a total solution for them. If you do this, you'll sell more often, and you'll develop long-term customers who buy more often from you and refer you. And so let's talk about this system. And so our selling system really has 6 key components. Number 1 is, of course, greeting and engaging customers. Number 2 is identifying customer needs or wants. Number 3 is presenting total solutions. Number 4 is handling objections. Number 5 is closing the sale. And I'm going to say number 6, of course, is going to be follow-up. We're going to focus today on the 5 key steps that deliver a great experience for your customer. And so we know that a great experience in your store will always start with the greeting. And so, Scott, we're going to treat you like our salesperson today, and I'm going to say to you, you're up. You're up. What does that mean when I say you're up and a customer walks in the door?
It's time for me to basically get out there and greet that person, to interact. And Dan, I think that I love what you just said about realigning our thinking. Realigning our thinking and greeting the customer and giving them the ability, welcoming them into our home. Like when I'm up and I'm up to that, so I want to welcome that person into my home. There's so much anxiety when we walk into a retail store where we are so concerned about how the person's going to greet us, if they're going to greet us. Do we want to be inconspicuous? Do we not want to be inconspicuous? And you know what? We put that to rest the minute that they walk in the door by just saying, hey, how you doing? And welcoming them and giving them that rite of passage. Great.
Now, so tell me this. What do you think the customer is feeling when they walk in the door of your store?
I think that there's always quite a bit of anxiety. I think that there's what is going to happen? How am I going to be treated? Am I going to be treated correctly? I think that there's a lot of preconceived ideas of how people will be looked after. And so when they walk in the door, I think that's our opportunity to just make them feel really, really at ease and give them that, just take that pressure off immediately when they walk in the door.
Okay, so realigning how we think, if we put ourselves in our customer's shoes, in our customer's place, and we know they're feeling a bit of anxiety, does it change how you greet them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, being, the classic example, Dan, that you and I talk about all the time, do you really want to go up to a customer when they walk in the door and say, can I help you? Do you really want to kind of go there straight away? Or do you want to make them feel like, hey, this is my home that I'm now giving you permission to feel at home in? And asking those, those open-ended questions we're going to talk about. How's your day? What have you been up to? Just getting them talking as opposed to having that flat out, no, I'm just looking, which we'll talk about in a minute for sure.
For sure. And so I'm going to add to that it's important, when you greet your customer, that you remember 3 key things in any conversation, and that's tone, meter, and time. Tone, how we say things. Meter and time, the rhythm and timing of what we say. Saying something to a customer that's not looking is like throwing something out there and hoping they grab it. When they're looking at you is that moment that you get to greet them. I always laugh when I walk into a store and I hear out of nowhere, hello, or hi, or welcome. And you don't know where it's coming from if they're watching you on TV and,
completely
and so it's important to
inappropriate.
Yeah, for sure. And so let's talk a little bit about why a greeting is so important. For sure, that I believe, first impressions are everything. I believe that people like friendly people. Not just they like friendly people, they buy from friendly people. When was the last time you bought something from a bear in the store? From someone who grumbled and gruffed and didn't connect with you. People buy from people they like.
Dan, I think it's really one of the things. I love the concept of making a friend and selling a friend, because you think if a friend of ours comes up to us and gives us a referral on a product and says, you've got to take a look at this product, we're going to immediately want to look at that product. It's building that same kind of rapport as you have with your friend or your brother or your sister that we're trying to achieve.
Right, exactly. The greeting is important because we need to create trust so that we can ask personal questions about tastes, wants, needs, style, size, etc. I think that it's important, that we create a level of trust that immediately allows people to see us as people, not as salespeople. That they don't feel like, I've stood in front of many rooms and said that people walk in the door afraid that someone's going to sell them something, even though, they're predetermined to buy. People got in their car, they walked in your door predetermined to buy from you if the stars align or if all things align. They don't have to be stars. This isn't something magical. This is real. People walk in the door of your store predetermined to buy. And if we can create a level of trust, we can ask the questions to help satisfy what their tastes are, their wants are, or their needs are. And I had a great mentor. His name was Rick, a long, long time ago, that taught me the number one attribute to closing a sale is having a great opening, having the ability to break the ice with someone, to make them feel comfortable and welcome in your store. And to do that, we kind of need to use these social, greetings that create a person-to-person conversation. And so, Scott, what do they sound like? What do we say?
I think that very much so is if we can get to open-ended questions, if we can get to hey folks, how are you doing? How is your day? Where are you from? Everybody loves to talk about where they're from. Everybody, if I always teach my my staff that we've got two ears and one mouth when it comes to selling, which means we want to get those questions out so we can get that person talking. We always talk about you get them talking, you open up, you ask those probing, friendly, empathetic questions that show that you care, and you will start a conversation and you'll build a relationship.
And so it's important to hear what Scott is saying, that the greeting isn't just a word, that it is the beginning of a simple social approach that allows the customer to see you, the client, the guest in your home, to see you as a person, not a salesperson. And so Scott touched on this earlier, what kind of greeting should we never use and why? My favorite thing to say to people, when we're doing a bit of sales coaching or sales training is always the, hello, can I help you? Have you been helped? Oh. It sounds so condescending to the customer. Have you been helped? Can I help you? Yes, they need our help, but they don't need to be identified as helpless. And so we've got to remove that four-letter word, from all of our language. If you use a simple social approach, you will then be able to move through a greeting and into engaging your customer. And it's important, as we start to engage customers, that this is about people, not about business. It's important not to talk about the store yet. Talk to this customer as a person. Go ahead, Scott.
One of the things, I think this is so critical, because when I talk to a lot of young staff members, staff members that are struggling with their selling ability, I think one of the things, and when you say realign, what they're struggling with often is that they feel like, well, am I too, I don't want to be pushy, or I don't want to create a tension, with the customer. What we've got to understand when we realign our thinking is it's about care. It's about looking after that customer. It's about making sure that you're making them feel as welcome as they possibly can be. And that is a duty of care. That's not something that you're trying to push onto someone. They are, like Dan, you said, every customer that comes into our store is intentional. There's an intention to buy, to look, to check out the store, and it's our job to make sure that we enhance that.
Yeah, good point. Really good point. So what do we say to any person who comes in the door? It's always going to be something genuine. We use this is old salesmanship, a sincere compliment, a chit chat about weather or sports. Scott said, where are you from? Is this your first time in? Just questions that are social, that is just chit chat, that is not about the store. Nobody cares where the sale rack is. Nobody cares what's on special today. All they want to know right now is this the right store for them? Not is it the right time, product, or place? Is this the right store? Do I feel comfortable? And so when we start to engage customers, we transition, from a greeting into the first offer of assistance. It really is continuing with that person-to-person approach and ask a simple, open-ended question that allows you to bring the conversation back to business. And so for me, I've always said, how about what brings you in today? What's your mission today? And I use that power of you because customers love to talk about their wants and needs. You just have to ask them. And when you put you or your mission, what brings you in today, it shows them that you care about them as a person. And if you greet and engage customers this way, 50% of customers, 50% of the people that walk through your door will tell you what they're doing in your store. They will tell you what they're looking for, what their mission is. There's always yeah, go ahead.
Just to reiterate that, and just for everyone listening, what Dan has done is this transition point is often the point of successful salesperson versus not, because many of us can get a great conversation going, but that transition point is critical. And as Dan said, focusing on them and being bold enough to ask that question because you've built the appropriate relationship I truly believe that is the difference between a mediocre and a very good salesperson.
Yeah, for sure. And, I don't jump from hello, welcome, thanks for coming in today, what's your mission? There is a bit of conversation that happens. And I should say that in greetings, I always use the 10-4 rule. This 10-4, if you're within 10 feet of me, I give you a physical, a wave, a nod, a smile, not a verbal, but rather a indication that I'm acknowledging that you're in my store. And when you get inside that 4-foot circle of me, you definitely, absolutely get a verbal greeting and a verbal engagement. And remember, I said at the beginning of the conversation, it's uncomfortable when you walk in a store and out of nowhere you hear hello. It is insincere. And so for me, I walk into a store and someone sees me and they acknowledge with a nod, a wave, a smile. I then feel like I mean something. And when I get close enough to someone that they can then engage me in a conversation, I feel special. It now is about me, not about the store. And so if we can maintain this strategy, this belief, this sincere approach, 50%, half of the customers that walk in your door will tell you why they're there. The other half are going to say to you, I'm just looking.
Mm-hmm.
It is just an opening objection. They may be looking for you and your help, your guidance, your expertise. And so how do you handle that opening objection? How do you respond to the I'm just looking? What do you say to them, Scott?
That is totally awesome. Have a look around. We've got so much stuff to look at. I'm here whenever you need me.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, it's important to remember, when you say this, we love having people come and look around. There's always lots of new things to look around, that you don't release the customer. You're just getting past the most common customer opening objection. So how do you handle this opening objection? However you responded to that first opening objection, have this second question. Have this is my next thing. And so, for me, it's this second question every time I greet. And so what do you say to them? How about, are you shopping for yourself or for someone else? So you've now said to me, I'm just looking. And I'm going to say, that's awesome. Thank you so much for coming in. Are you shopping for yourself or someone else?
I think it's so strong to be able to, because, so many staff members just go, tuck their heads down, go into that backward step and walk away from, I'm just looking. And even to have like an approach like that, or even just so, what are you up to today? Breaks that ice and also starts to give you that set of context that you need to come back to the product when you need to.
Yeah. And so for the most part, when I say to someone, are you shopping for yourself or for someone else, I get a real response. People are not programmed to lie. This is important. People are not pre-programmed to deceive you. They have to stop and think about how they're going to answer this question. And so you're going to get one of two responses. You're going to get, yeah, nothing or no one really. I am truly just looking, or I'm just looking. Or they're going to say, my mom, myself. And then you're going to say, you're shopping for someone else? Tell me about them. You're shopping for yourself? Tell me about your mission. Tell me about your, what is it you're looking for? How are we going to find it for you today? Let's talk, not let's sell. And so it's important that if someone does give you the twice, I'm just looking, the best response for them is caring and social. Great, I completely understand. Enjoy your browse. May I check back with you to see if you have questions? My name is Dan, and you are. You see, I did not release that customer before I acknowledged the importance of them looking around and just to be on their own. I asked permission to check back with them, and then I gave them something. What did I give them?
Yeah, you give them your name.
I gave them my name. Why is that important that I gave them my name?
So powerful. It's funny that you go back to the old school of wearing a name tag, but there's a personal connection made when you're offering up your accountability, let's call it. I'm going to be your guy, I'm going to be your girl, and so much so that I'm going to give you my name because that's the connection is made with a new friend when the name is exchanged, when the handshake is made. I think that's really a critical point in a relationship, for sure.
And Scott, those words are important. That handshake, this is a virtual handshake. My name is Dan, and you are? And Scott responds with his name. That's a virtual handshake. It's great to meet you. Thank you so much for coming in. Enjoy your browse, and now I will check back with you. If you have questions, my name is Dan, and you are? This ability for us to now exchange names. I can now stay close to Scott, not on top of Scott. I can notice what he notices, what he pauses at, what he touches, and I can ask these simple questions. Hey, Scott, that's new. How do you like it? Scott, do you have any questions? And I can use his name.
And do you notice, Dan, that
powerful stuff?
What that really implies as well, which I think is absolutely critical in our sales approach, is that, what you're implying here is that I am now staying engaged with the movements of that client. Now, I'm not hovering over them, but I am there for them because then when we pick up that buying signal, when we pick up that engagement with the product, we're now in an appropriate relationship to be able to help them and make a comment on that. And it's really, I often call it that high flyby, where I'm staying busy, I'm engaging, but I'm very observant to what they're doing next, so I can appropriately be there for them. Because I tell you what, the first you can ruin an engagement with a customer for that first second that you're not there when they pick up their product and look around. Because as much as they would have told you, I'm just looking, most, if not all customers, the moment that they show a buying signal, they want your help. They want that immediate attention. So having this engagement ongoing gives you that natural flow to be able to just be there at the right place at the right time.
And Scott, important, that buying signal, most customers that don't feel that trust, that don't feel that respect and that love in your store won't come and ask you for help now. They won't come and ask you about that. But if you see it and you can recognize it, that's absolutely a way for you to re-engage with them. And so, when I talk about engaging, there are only two acceptable outcomes from greeting and engaging customers. Number one, the customer tells you why they're in the store and you move to understanding those needs, their needs. Or number two, the customer doesn't engage you and they leave the store, and they leave the store with an exit greeting. Remember how important it is to make someone's day. You can make someone's day with a really great exit greeting. The exit greeting is really about a customer that doesn't want to engage you any further in the process. And it just means that they were truly just looking. They were maybe in the wrong store, or they're still exploring. Offer them some advice about how you can help them in the future, and thank them for coming in. There's nothing more powerful than an exit greeting. It is so important to remember to make someone's day with the exit greeting. And so let's jump back now to that customer that told you what they were doing in your store. We're going to move from, that greeting and engagement step consequentially into identifying their needs. And identifying customers' needs really is a transition. When they tell you why they're in the store, you've moved through the greeting, and you're going to stay social and acknowledge why they've come, the reason they've come into your store. Remember, your job is to eliminate the doubt. So you're going to ask a bunch of conversational questions. What kind of questions should you ask to start understanding your customer's needs, Scott?
Always the key questions are open-ended. Who, where, what, why, when, and how. You want to engage conversation and do lots of listening.
And so how many questions do you ask?
I think you work appropriately to find the solution. You are there to find the solution for that client, and it really is as much as they need you to get to that conclusion.
Yeah. So Scott's totally right. How many questions you ask is dependent on how long it takes to uncover the need to be able to present a total solution. Our job is to eliminate doubt. It allows customers to make confident choices. And so when I talk about total solutions, it's about us always providing total solutions, top to bottom. If it's clothing, it's outfits. If it's gear, it's every piece of gear and the things that go along with it. You know better about what they need with your product than they do, right? And so think about what a total solution in your store is and what it starts with. It always starts with the item that they asked for. I came in, I'm in today to find a new jacket. Your solution has to start with the jacket. I came in for a new pair of boots. And so while bindings and skis and poles and socks and pants and layers are important, I'm going to start with what they asked for.
Dan, it's like I think that it's again, like I harp on your concept of alignment. Like we've got to align ourselves with the thinking that, these customers don't know what they don't know, and we do. And it's our duty to look after them with these solutions because, to come out and to be truly satisfied and looked after, we've got to make sure that their needs are covered, that their wants are covered. And those questions get to the point of multiple products in just about every one of our stores.
Yeah. Oh, so accurate. So accurate. And so the question, is it okay to assume the customer wants or needs additional? Of course it is. We don't know. They don't know what they don't know, right? We do. And so I'll ask you this. How does a customer's budget fit in to the total solution equation?
That is a great question, because quite often I find, certainly in my selling experience, that what they might perceive or tell you if you ask them about their budget, it could be completely different. What I think is most relevant is focusing on what they need, focusing what they're looking for, servicing their wants and their desires, as opposed to fitting it to a specific budget. Absolutely, they will bring you around with objections. You will be guided by where they need you to go, but don't make assumptions.
Yeah, good point. Really good point. Never assume on budget. Always, ask. And there's ways for us to build up into someone's budget. And that really is just an objection. And we're going to talk a little bit about objections, when we finish with the total solution. So total solutions for me is always about the reveal. It's always about how we react to the reveal is crucial in the total solutions process. It always is what allows us to close sales. And I have this, when I call it the reveal, it's whether someone steps out of a change room or stands up in a skate or in a boot, whether someone, is trying on, a shirt and jeans and a belt, or they're trying on a technical jacket. My reveal moment, I am always honest, positive, and I'm the professional the customer needs. I'm that first person that says, gosh, I'm not sure I like the way that hangs, that drapes. Let's get a different size. That means you're trying on something that's either too big or too small for who you are. And I'm going to be honest to make sure that I put you in the right thing, the right product.
Dan, I think that's brilliant. I think that's, I had a customer once say to me that, the first person that tells me this is not the right thing for me is the one that I'm going to buy from.
Right.
And I think that it's so critical to be honest, but to be sensitive and to empathize. But, again, the customer doesn't know what they don't know, and you do, and you can guide them and style them to walk out of that store feeling better than they did when they walked in.
100%. Okay, and so let's talk about how we handle objections. And the reality is there are only 4 objections in any store. Number 1 is going to be size. It's not my size. You don't have my size. This isn't the right size. Number 2 is fit. I don't like the way it fits. It hangs, it drapes. Number 3 is color. I don't like the color. It's not my favorite color. And price. It's more than I planned on spending. And every one of these objections are handled through your needs analysis, through this change room, through this process. You're finding the right size and fit. You're finding the right color, and you're getting a yes on price. This is $100. Does that sound okay to you? Does this fit within your budget? Yes or no? If the answer is no, I'm going to bring my price point down, or I might inch it up. But I'm going to find the yes in the objection. And I'm going to handle objections before I ever need to move to closing the sale. I'm never going to ask for the sale ahead of handling all of these objections, because there are only 4. And so once we've handled, it seems a bit cold, but once we've addressed any possible objections, I hate to be too salesy, but once we've addressed any challenges with the customer, any of these potential challenges, I'm then going to move to closing the sale. And closing the sale means that I ask for the sale every single time.
So, Dan, nothing could be more important. We so often as salespeople get tangled up and find ways to avoid just the straight out ask. If we've done our job, if we've asked the right questions, if we care about that person, get over it. Ask for the close.
Yes. You've earned the right. I believe that we earn the right to ask for the sale by putting the yards in, by putting the work in through needs analysis and presenting solutions to those predetermined needs that they identified. We've earned the right to ask for the sale. And there's many ways that I can ask for the sale. There's many techniques I can use to ask for the sale. But the one thing is for sure, she trusts me. She needs my guidance to complete the purchase, and I'm going to ask her for the sale. And I might use an assumptive close. Hey, it fits perfect. It's great. I'm going to put it on the counter. We're going to, let's put it in a bag. I might be direct and say, cash or credit. I might be romantic and say, imagine how you're going to feel on the beach. Imagine how you're going to feel at that dinner party. Whatever technique fits the circumstance. I say technique, again, I'm leaning hard on it being a system, but it's true, right? It comes from a place of sincerity. For some people, it is just very assumptive. I'm going to assume we've answered all of your questions, and I'm going to put this at the counter, and we'll tighten up, we'll finish up. Or I'm going to ask them point blank, how would you like to pay for this? Whatever we do, use a technique that's unique to that customer engagement. And so closing the sale. Salespeople often fear closes. And why do you fear it? It's because they haven't earned the right and they know it. They haven't done the work and they know it. Why do they fear closing? Because they don't understand the customer's situation. They don't understand the needs. They didn't do the work. They didn't get a lot of yeses during the understanding needs process. The last one is, they're concerned about customers' money. And this is something that I say to all new team members on the floor. It is so, so important that you never shop out of your pocket for your customer. If you believe something is too expensive or inexpensive, you keep it to yourself. This is about your customer. Never worry about the customer's money. They know how to manage that objection. And objection, people fear closing because they don't handle objections well. You have to be able to handle objections. You have to be able to get around obstacles that prevent you from completing her solution.
I would even, Dan, jump in and go a step further with handling objections. I would embrace them. An objection is one more level of engagement with your customer. You think of it like you have an objection from a friend or a family member when you're in a conversation or even in a heated debate. It's those moments that get you closer. When you can overcome that objection, you've just got closer in that friendship. Yes.
Well said. Really well said. And so I'll tell you this, there are 4 secrets to closing sales. Have great openings. Have really great openings. Be fun, be energetic. Remember our principles. Remember to play. Remember to make someone's day. Remember to be there with them. Remember to connect. And always choose a winning attitude. Have great openings. Understand customers' needs before you present any solution. Don't show them something they don't want, they don't need. Always get lots of yeses and agreement throughout your process. And simply ask for the sale every single time. And now, you're going to ask me, well, what do I do if I don't get the sale? The reality is not every engaged customer will buy. But every engaged customer produces one of 2 outcomes. It is absolutely a sale today or an ambassador for you and your store. If you make memories for people, if you make their day, you're going to create an ambassador, someone that leaves your store and says, oh my gosh, you have to go to Scott's store. You get the best service there. If you focus your energy on creating ambassadors, sales are consequential. I say this to everyone. If you focus on creating great friendships in your store, creating really great experiences, treating everyone like they're going to be an ambassador for your store, sales will follow closely behind that.
Dan, I love this concept because you, as a salesperson, You walk out, every single customer that walks into your store, you have them walk out with a win. You get a win. Like whether you've made a sale or not, you have had a win. And it's like you talked about attitude, like you have the choice every day that you walk into the store as an employee, as a salesperson, to be able to choose the attitude that you have for that day. And you will impart that on what could be hundreds of people in a day. Man, you're going to make their days, whether they buy from you or not. I think that that's just such a great way to look at selling, because it means we win every single time.
Every single time. Well said. I think that you've heard me tell this story, and I pick on, one of your favorite places. I pick on Banff. When I very first came, to Alberta, my very first trip to Banff, I couldn't believe, the lack of love that people had for customers walking in and out the door. And it took me a long time just to get an exit greeting for someone when I wasn't buying. And part of me creating this ambassadorship in my stores was ensuring that every single customer that I engaged became an ambassador. It was never about the sale. The sale is always consequential. And I tell you this, whether we're talking about, sales volume in your stores, they're consequence. Sales in your stores are a consequence of engaging customers, of satisfying their needs and presenting total solutions to them. That's what sales volume is in your store. And if we can create ambassadors, sales volume follows that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we're just about at 45 minutes. If you have any questions, please email planning@retailbycrs.com. No question is off limits. You can ask Scott or I anything you like. We are more than happy to have a conversation with you to answer questions. The other thing I'll remind you of is to mark your calendars. Our monthly webinar series continues. We're going to take December off. We know you're busy. We know you're doing your thing. So we're going to come back to you on January 24th with Scott has two really great presentations for us. One is Retail Math Made Easy. And then on February 21st, it's the Retail KPIs, helping us know our numbers. What are our key performance indicators? And then we're going to follow that up in March with a Merchandising 101. Mark your calendars and join us for those. Again, any questions on selling in your store, on sales training, on technique or strategy that you want to chat about, shoot us an email at planning@retailbycrs.com. Thank you for coming today. Hope you guys have an awesome selling season.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, Scott. Thanks.
Right on.